Alright guys, this is going to be my first video for my YouTube channel I just created called Universal Love. I created a page with the hopes of, I guess, helping people who are kind of lost figure out ways to suffer less in the world that we live in. Because I spent a good chunk of my life trying to fill a void, trying to fill an emptiness I had inside me, and I feel that a lot of people have that inside of them, and some people just don't know what to do about it. Some people ignore it, they suppress it, some people fill it with whatever they can fill it with, which there's an answer. And if you look for it, you're gonna find it. But you graduate high school, that's where I'm gonna start, because I feel like that's where everybody's journey actually really starts. But you jump out into this vast ocean that we call reality. And society expects you to have this plan just to figure it all out. You're supposed to know what to do. At least that's like what it felt like for me when I was starting out. So I kind of just joined the pattern of things and I went to college. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with myself, but I just knew that's what I was supposed to do. And at first it was great, I guess. I mean, I was out there, I was free, I could do whatever I want. And then the more I started to think about my future, the more I realized how crazy this is all going to be. But I started to try and plan my whole life, and it just sent me down a very dark path. I started to get really depressed. I started using drugs. I started drinking a lot more, and I basically stopped caring about everything. I didn't make it that long before I ended up deciding to come home. I got to the point where I guess I didn't have any hope, and I contemplated the point of living. And once I reached that point, I realized that something needed to change. So I came home in the hopes of maybe I don't even know. It felt right. I mean, I was partially homesick, I was depressed, I couldn't figure out what to do with myself. And let me say this real quick, none of this is for like pity. I'm just explaining my story, so maybe it'll speak to some of you. I don't care. But I came home and I tried again. I tried to go to school near my hometown, but at that time I still had that kind of fuck everything attitude. And it didn't lead me down a very good path. I didn't make it that long at school. I ended up moving in with some of my buddies who were kind of in the same mindset, I guess you could say, where we didn't really know what to do with ourselves, so we were just going to do whatever we wanted. And at first it was great. I'm not going to lie to you. It was a lot of fun. We did whatever. And it just slowly got worse because the longer we did it, the more I realized that I had an emptiness inside me that I couldn't figure it out. I didn't know how to fill it. So at the beginning of this, I guess I filled it with, of course, alcohol and drugs. I feel like a lot of people might do that. I mean, it's the perfect numbing agent. It fills it temporarily. You don't have to deal with it. But looking back, I could see how it wasn't helpful. But at the time, I didn't know what else to do. And things just got progressively worse. They got a lot worse. And it got to the point where I just couldn't take it anymore. I had just been abusing so many things, and I had realized that I wasn't going anywhere with myself. And even though I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know what I was missing, I couldn't keep doing what I was doing. So eventually I ended up calling my dad of all people, because I knew that he would understand, because of his past, what I needed. And he told me to come home. He was like, get your stuff and we'll leave. So that's exactly what I did. And it felt good at first. Like, I spent a good month just sobering up and trying to figure out ways to live my life in a more positive way. Found a bunch of different spiritualities, I guess philosophies, religions, looked into all kinds of things, and it did help for a while. I got a job working out in the oil field, doing manual labor, and yeah, it fucking blew, but you gotta do what you gotta do. And it got to the point where I ended up actually getting a raise. Like, I got a better job, made a lot more money than I expected to be making at the age I was at. And it was good, all was good, until I started to get extremely lonely because all of my friends were still doing the same thing, and I just didn't want to do it anymore, so I didn't know what to do with myself. I just went to work and I would come home and just look up things to try and help me feel better. And it lasted for a good amount of time until I branched out to another friend group. Still some of the same people, some of the new people over in the Corpus area for any of you that know where I'm from. But it was just the same thing in a different light. Just fucking sex, drugs, and alcohol, pretty much. You know, it's hard. It's hard at first, but I feel like everybody's got to go through something, some kind of crucible to help them find. Like I've read a quote the other day. What did it say, man? That there needs to be chaos in the soul to give birth to a dancing star, and it really resonated with me because so much pain for so long shaped me into a better person. That's my goal, is to be a better person and try and help you figure out how to be a better person. But if we go into like the deep recesses of my mind, I guess the main problem was as I was still trying to figure out my life, like what to do with myself, what I was here for, what I was meant for, why we were here. Like I pondered all these deep questions, man. I was just always in my head and life was just passing me by. I'd be going to clubs in Corpus, I'd be using drugs, and I'd just be watching all these people. It was like everybody had a mask on, and including myself. We all had a mask. And nobody was showing their true selves. They weren't showing the beauty that they had inside. They weren't showing their pain. They just had their mask and they were doing their thing because it's what they thought they were supposed to do. And it got to the point where people, like, I didn't even know were coming up to me, like asking me where to get this drug or that drug. And I realized I was in it again. I was deep in it again. And I beat myself up for a while. I was like, how did I even get to this point, man? Like, I've already learned this. I went back into it. And at that point, like, I was like, I gotta do something else, so I quit hanging out with people again. I went back home, and then I decided to move into an apartment by myself, which that was a good step. I figured maybe independence and trying to just be whatever it meant to be an adult would help me out. And same thing happened. I lasted good for a while. I'd be in my apartment going to work. I'd find hobbies to occupy my time, and I'd quit using drugs, and I'd quit drinking for a while. And then I guess the drinking came back into the picture, but in my mind I had rationalized it because I wasn't doing drugs. But now I realize that, I mean, everything's technically a drug. And I'm not saying that drinking is bad, or you could do whatever you want to do. I just think you need to become conscious of the reasons behind doing the act. Are you drinking to have a good time with your friends? Are you drinking for social purpose? Or are you drinking to escape reality? Are you drinking to hide a pain? Because at some point you're going to have to deal with it. You can't bury it forever. And after I started going down that path, I jumped to the next train of thinking that maybe I needed to be with somebody to be happy. That's what I had to do. I had to find somebody to be with. That's what everybody else was doing. They're just getting in relationships. Friends are getting married. Friends are having kids. Everybody's got a freaking girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. Both. But I met a lot of beautiful souls along the way, but it's hard to be in a relationship when you're that depressed because you use that person and you don't realize you're doing it. Some people do, some people don't. But you use them to fill that void, that emptiness inside of you. And at first in the relationship, it works. It really does. Because you're in that, I guess, honeymoon phase and everything's great. You're not focusing on all your problems. You're just focusing on being with that person. But after a while of being with that person, like, the feelings come back because you never solved the feelings. You were just covering them up with something else that maybe wasn't as self-destructive, but you were still covering it up. And then you can't put that much weight on a person. Like, a relationship's not going to work. So I went through relationship after relationship, and eventually I met somebody who was in just as much pain as me. A beautiful freaking person. I will always cherish having this memory, but she didn't do drugs, she didn't drink, but she was just as depressed as me, so we had a good connection. And it made us have like a deep connection, I feel like. I don't know if it felt the same way for her, but I feel like it was pretty real. The problem is we were on other sides of the freaking United States. I was in Texas and she was in California. I ended up visiting California with her, and I'm still wrapped up in it, man. Like, I'm still, like, can't get out of my head. I can't figure out why I feel the way I do, and, like, I'm just missing things. Like, I'm in the beautiful shores of California with this beautiful woman, and it was great, but at the same time, I still had it with me. That darkness was following me everywhere. There's so many times I wanted to give up, but eventually I came back from California and went back to my regular life after being on vacation. And I made the decision that I couldn't stay with her because I wasn't gonna move there. I mean, it just didn't feel right, I guess. But after I let the girl go, it came back and it hit me even freaking harder, man, because I had had something real, and then I let that go and went back to my normal routine. Like, the depression ran deep, so I immediately started looking for somebody else to fill that void. And like, immediately, like, quick, like a week, I'd found somebody, and I was deep in it, and this person was a major catalyst in my change. She changed me for the better. She helped me see the beauty in things that I hadn't seen before. She helped me realize that a lot of the problem is just all mental. I'll get to that. But we dated. At first, I mean, I was still self-destructive, and I'm surprised she stuck around because I put her through some shit. But she did, and I kind of found myself. But I guess like all relationships, things fade. If it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. But before we ended up separating ways, I met some of her friends when we went to Austin, Texas. And I met this dude who had this book, and it was just conveniently laying on a table, and it just caught my eye. So I picked up the book, and it was called Be Here Now by Ram Dass, which is a very interesting book. I recommend it to anybody. But it made me realize what the biggest problem I was having is I wasn't ever in the present moment. I was never living in this moment right now. This moment, you watching this video. Quit thinking about other shit. Hey, what are you wearing? What's your favorite thing to do? What is your career plan? What is your plan for tomorrow? Quit thinking about that shit. There's no use for it. Because if you think about it, the only time you have is right now. Tomorrow is going to happen when tomorrow comes. Yesterday doesn't matter anymore. Yesterday is gone. And it's not like I'm saying to just like let go of your dreams and your goals and forget about all that. Don't think about that. Just let it fall away. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. Like, keep your dreams, chase your dreams, follow your dreams, but don't live in your dreams mentally, I guess what I'm trying to say. Because when you start living in the present moment, you start to see things you could do right then, right now, to get to that point. But as for me, like, let's say I just wanted to help people, and I would just picture myself in so many different career paths, and I was like, what the hell do I do with myself, man? What do I do with myself? And then once I figured out to live in the present moment, I could see everything I could do around me to get me to a point I wanted to be at, or to do in that present moment to do what I wanted to do. And you're probably thinking like this is really cliche, like this isn't, what is this kid talking about? But it's that simple. It really is. And one of the things that has helped me with being in the present moment is meditation. I'll make another video on that, I'm sure. But it changed everything for me, man. It changed everything. I'd quit trying to figure out what to do with myself and instead started to figure out what to do with myself now. Your mind feels like it has to operate at all the time. All the time it's just functioning. It's just got all these thoughts going off. You'll be having an argument with the person that's not even there. Somebody did something to you, it pisses you off. You're thinking about it. You're at work and you're thinking about what you're going to get for lunch, and it's all 8 o'clock in the morning. The time will come, man. You don't have to think about it. And just be there. Just be where you're at right now. Because it's powerful. It's intense at first whenever you get yourself out of that mental, and you're like mental prison. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. I had to think about the Bob Marley song. But that's really all it is. And then I guess I've set me on a path, and this is the path I'm on now. So I will continue with everything that I just said. I'll get deeper into things, and I'll expand my mind to you. Have a good day.